We only have to make small talk for
8 minutes and 45 seconds.
We better keep it impersonal. Acceptable topics include what constitutes a grain, the Hubble Space Telescope, orchid varietals, the birth of the transistor.
We only have to fill 8 minutes.
Sure, but think about it as 480 seconds, and you'll see why I'm concerned.
Oh my God.
TBTL.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is?
It's Friday. Gonna get down on Friday.
Everybody's looking forward to the weekend.
Jalapeno! She's buying, right? Because I will be ordering a bowl of soup as an appetizer, not a cup. Chuck, I know people say I'll fill up, but you have no idea how my body processes soup.
One man's too much information is another man's too little information. TLI. And one other man's JEI. Just enough information.
Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. I was too busy blocking out the haters.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Friday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
It's a kind of magic.
My name is Luke Burbank. I'm your host.
I'm an activist and house party enthusiast.
Coming to you from the Madrona Hill studio, perched high above the mighty Columbia, where it's a beautiful Friday.
Oh, Ma, Pa, it's just beautiful.
Much yard work to be done. This morning, at about 6:30 a.m., a guy from the landscaping supply company showed up with 3 yards of pea gravel and dumped it in my driveway. And I will now be wheelbarrowing that down to the area that is going to go in the yard later on today. First, though, of course, we have to focus on real life. I have to focus on my actual job, which is hosting episode 4473 in a collector series of TBTL.
Let the fun begin.
And it's not just any episode of TBTL today. No, it is a day where we will be bringing you a big, cool announcement.
Attention, everybody, madams and Miss Waz.
About a TBTL project that will be going on for the next month or so, and you can be part of it. So stick around for that. Also, we're going to talk to this guy, longest running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. There's some speculation online about his professionalism. He'd like to push back on that on this Friday.
I'm a professional. Look it up in the book.
He's Andrew Welsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
You don't know how my body processes soup.
Is that our guy Higgins?
Michael Higgins Clark?
Higgins?
Is it Michael Higgins Clark? Did we just get there on the first shot? All 3 names?
I know he has 3 names, and I know Higgins is one of them.
Yes,
that's
and I
as
think
far
Michael
as I can
is one of them, and I think he hosts a game show on the Game Show Network that my grandmother used to love.
And he also says that we're the #1 show on sinking riverboats. Is that also him?
That's right, and it's all from the show, is it Good News or Great News? Produced by Tina Fey. It's called Great News. And it is John Michael Higgins. No, I said Michael Higgins.
Way to end the week on a high note. We should probably just call it today.
No, I think I said Michael Higgins Clark. I think is what I had said.
I was willing to go with you on it.
John Michael Higgins, I think. But I got Tina Fey's name right.
Were you thinking of, is it Michael Clark Duncan, the actor from The Green Mile?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I read The Green Mile. I think I watched the movie.
Nice flex.
Didn't care for either one of them. I remember as the first Stephen King, and I'm going to say book, but really it's a series of like tiny little novellas, I guess. But I remember as the first one I read, because I read it when it was pretty like kind of contemporary, and I was like, I am out. I think I'm out.
He's a guy on death row. Did he like not do it or something?
I don't know. There's a mouse involved. No, I don't think
he touches Tom Hanks and somehow he's able to like warg into Tom Hanks, right? Who's like the prison warden or something?
I don't even remember the warging. So I read it when it came out, which would have been in the 90s, and I don't have a very good memory. There's a mouse involved. I believe he befriends a mouse.
Are you thinking of The Great Mouse Hunt starring Nathan Lane?
I am thinking
of the mouse. Are you confusing that with The Green Mile?
I'm thinking of the mouse and the motorcycle. No, wait. David.
Okay. Are you thinking of Stuart Little?
I'm thinking of Stuart Little. He's on death row.
Stuart Little is on death row for a crime he didn't commit.
But he's definitely wishing on the same bright star that I'm
Yes.
wishing on.
You're thinking of Fievel Goes to the Gas Chamber.
It's, oh my God.
This got real
Fievel
dark
goes
real
all
fast.
the way west.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, good for us
Yes.
on John Michael Higgins. Like you said, I
Fievel's
believe
last
we
meal.
absolutely nailed that. It is from that show, Great News, and I love it because, Luke, I am somebody, not only is it funny, but it's true, and that's why it's funny, because
that's where the humor derives from.
I love getting soup. When I show up at a restaurant, when I roll into a restaurant, I'm already too hungry, so I always order the soup, and then I always finish the soup, and I think, I probably didn't need that soup because now I'm not very hungry anymore. And Genevieve always says, you don't really need the soup, do you? You don't. I mean, she doesn't care, but she's just like, you don't need the soup. You always say you eat the soup and then you're not hungry anymore. And then I always want to say, you don't know how my body processes soup. But the truth is,
it sounds like she does, though.
She really is really keyed in and exactly.
I tried to
how
order
my
some
body...
soup yesterday when I was making the Hey Dummies video, and it was clam chowder. And I said, that's a pretty aggressive choice. There's no middle ground on clam chowder.
That's the thing. I love the clam chowder, but it's very filling.
Yeah, it's definitely not like you got to be in the right mood for it. It's not like a chicken noodle or a vegetable something where you're like, nobody's 60% on a clam chowder. You're either 100% or you're 0%.
Yes, and I had a steelhead shot. Today is, I mean, I think a lot of listeners probably know this and are sick of me talking about it, but today is the 1 week anniversary of the last bowl of chowder that I had, which was a steelhead chowder, which was quite tasty, I will say. But again, very filling, and it's those kinds of soups that'll really get you in trouble, Luke.
Yes.
God, this is a young podcast.
I saw there's a comedian I really like named Stavros Halkinen, and he's much younger than us, but he was on a podcast, and he was talking about how he's probably like 35, but he was going on about how they were talking about male pattern baldness. I don't know if it was colonoscopies or not, but it was like basically he was lamenting how old they are, and I thought, you have no idea, buddy. Wait till you start talking about soup.
Wait till you start talking about soup and how these party apps are they're too much these days. Why can't you just write a letter like the old days?
How did that go, by the way? I probably hasn't aired yet. It's probably just released, but you are featured on the KUOW podcast this week.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that.
They had declined your offer of the Partyful story, which I thought was a good topic.
Yeah, I got to tell this. It actually ended up going really well, and so I assume that podcast has already been released and is potentially in your podcast app. If you want to hear me and TBTL favorite Dr. Kirk Honda chatted up with KUOW's Patricia Murphy. Just look for the KUOW Now podcast. It was
after you've listened to TBTL. Although by definition, if they're hearing this, they're listening to their TBTL.
Yeah,
so.
And it really, I'm not just saying this because I'm sure Kirk is listening, but it was really fun. It was like a really good show. I told you that I had gone in there a little bit, maybe even slightly, I don't know if nervous is the right word, but I was really struggling with the topics that they had chosen. Not that I think they were necessarily bad topics, but I just didn't know that I had a lot to say on them. But maybe it was one of those things where, because I wasn't super confident, my brain kept chewing on them in the 24 hours or whatever, however much time I had. So once I was sitting down, I even joked with them afterwards. I'm like, man, I came in here, I thought I don't have anything on these topics, and the next thing you know, I'm blabbing and talking over everybody else, and just I was like, well, I guess I had stuff. You just talked over me. No, but anyway, so it did go really well. But I will tell the audience the story that I had told you, which I do think is funny, and I think it's okay for me to tell here. In the past, when you're on this podcast, the host and producer, I think the producer will kind of send a list of topics with various sort of talking points around it, or sort of like kind of conversational cues, let's say, around a topic, like maybe this budget topic, or maybe this, new technology law or whatever. And like, what do we all think about it? So they do a lot of prep, and they send out these topics and say, let us know what you think about these things. That way we can sort of like steer the conversation towards where we should steer it. If you have a lot to say, it's helpful to know that. So this last time, though, they reached out to me in advance, and Dr. Kirk, and said, hey, we're trying something new. We want to kind of meet guests where they are. And maybe before we send out our list of topics, can you send us some ideas of things that are kind of like hitting you where you live, or things that you want to talk about? And I'm like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. And I
Yeah.
think I mentioned this on the show because I said it reminded me of my old days of being a producer. I kind of sent, I think, 4, maybe 5 topics that I said, I know all of these are a little bit outside of what you guys usually do, but here's my pitch on each of these stories. One of them was that Partyful app, which isn't a local story, but I thought was seasonal, whatever. I'd sent 5 of these things in, and I'd mentioned to you on the show that it was somewhat fulfilling kind of playing that role again. And I got a note back from the producer, whom I truly, truly love, by the way. This is not a slam on them, but the producer wrote back to say, this is really great. Can I use this to share with other future guests so that they can see the type of emails that we're looking for? Also, we're not going with any of these topics.
We'll be passing on this today.
It was comedy gold in a certain way. Like, this is literally perfect. Are not using any of these topics. So anyway, but they found stuff that ended up being a lot of fun to talk about. So,
hey, Andrew, you got any big weekend plans?
I kind of do.
The biggest one I've ever had. Big weekend.
I feel like I need a martini in my hand when I'm hearing this song, and I need to be sitting in one of those, the CD cover of, what was that called, like Atomic Hipster. Remember that album that made the rounds?
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like space age music for atomic bachelors.
Well, there was a whole series of them. There was like this lounge series, I believe, by Ryko Disc, if I'm not wrong.
That would
about
make sense.
And the one I had was Spacecapades, so it was very much this kind of lounge music. But I do believe there was a series because there was one that specifically mentioned atomic, but it definitely all had that atomic
space age bachelor pad lounge music was the one that I had.
Look up Spacecapades. I had that one as well. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that because I was obsessed with it, but I also ended up using it in my early radio career because it had so much good, like, kind of bed music or sort of mood setting. Yeah, here it is, Ultra Lounge. Was it Ryko Disc? No,
I know that somebody
Ryko
on
Disc.
Reddit wrote, this is on r/jazz. This is like a Reddit jazz, I guess, subreddit or something. Confession, I like space age bachelor pad music. Anyone else?
What a confession.
Yes.
So here were the things in the series that I particularly had, or specifically had. I had Spacecapades, but you also had Bachelor Pad Royale. You had Mambo Fever. You had Crime Scene. You had Bossa Novelle. Wild and Swingin'. Oh, that's my weekend, Wild and Swingin'.
That's what you're doing? Those are your big weekend plans?
Well, today I have to, after I get done with my work here, I got to kind of clean the house. Genevieve has some colleagues coming over, I guess, for drinks or something after work, which means I need to I need to get kind of through that because I need to, I don't know, it's just going to add some pressure to my afternoon. But
do you have to be around for it?
I think so. Yeah, I believe.
Okay,
yeah,
I see.
That's kind of, I guess, part of the deal. But once I get through that, I have something that is sort of relevant to TBTL interest, I guess, which is I'm going back to Whirly Ball on Sunday. It has been a long time. A couple of friends, and I do believe they use the Partyful app to invite us. But we have a couple of friends who are around our age and who have been together as a couple for a long time now. We met them, I think, before they were a couple, but now they've been together for probably close to 10 years or something, and they're getting married, but because, maybe because they're getting married in their 40s or whatever, like, they're kind of having a very, very small ceremony, but for a bigger celebration, they kind of invited everybody for an afternoon of Whirly Ball, which I like. I mean, that's up my alley. That is going to be very casual. It's going to be fun. I haven't played Whirly Ball in forever. Now, I guess there are probably, because it's so rare, there are probably some people listening who don't know what Whirly Ball is. There's only like 2 of them in the United States. Am I right?
There's one in like the greater Chicagoland area, and then one up in culturally Edmonds/Linwood area on Aurora Avenue.
Yep, and that's what we're going to.
It's a very sort of specific, weird game. It's like bumper cars, but you also are on like what's sort of like a basketball court size thing, and you drive the bumper cars around, and you are trying to throw a ball. Imagine a basketball backboard, but there's no rim, there's no hoop. It's just that square kind of shooting goal, they call it. And you're trying to throw a ball through there with these kind of almost like highlight little kind of,
or like lacrosse
what do you call them?
Sticks almost.
Like a lacrosse stick kind of a thing, yeah. And so you drive around in this bumper car and you throw the ball to each other, and then you try to throw it through this hole. I don't know who invented this and who thought this would take off, but it actually kind of worked, and it's a fun thing. Remember the last time I did this with you? I believe it was when Ben Gibbard was there from Death Cab for Cutie, and he was weirdly good at whirly ball, which was like, leave some for the rest of us, dude. You're already Ben Gibbard. Do you have to be good at whirly ball?
It's my belief that a lot of his songs are actually about whirly ball. A lot of people think they're about like romance or tough breakups, but they're actually, I believe, about whirly ball. No, that was one of the most interesting text messages I ever got, because I remember I was at a place that was unlikely for me as well. I was watching, I believe, a Huskies football game in the rain with a friend.
Oh, outside.
Yeah, which is weird because I swore it was a Friday. Maybe it was a Saturday or something, but it was before I certainly... this is when we first lived in Seattle, so Genevieve did not work for the university then. I didn't have any tie to the university other than a friend of mine said, hey, I have some free tickets or something. Do you want to go sit in the bleachers for this game? I'm like, okay. I remember it was raining, and I'm hanging out with her, and then I get a call or a text message from you that says, do you want to play whirly ball with Ben Gibbard? And I think I said to my friend, would you mind if I excused myself? I think I'm going to go play whirly ball with Ben Gibbard. That was a lot of fun.
Okay, so what are your big weekend plans?
To play whirly ball with my friends and celebrate their marriage on Sunday. Yep.
Okay, all right, fine. It's been 15 seconds. How am I expected to remember that, Andrew?
Oh, goldfish. Anyway, that's the big thing I'm looking. I don't have anything on the books for tomorrow, so that's kind of good. So I have, something tonight that I kind of got to get cleaned up for, and then or not get cleaned up for, but I got to clean up the house. I'm just in a place right now where I'm uncomfortable with the state of the house. It's not in some sort of terrible condition, but we have the sick cat upstairs, and so we have to have a separate litter box for her, and I'm very sensitive to litter box issues, and so that's kind of upstairs, and like, because we usually have our litter box down here in the basement. It's got its own little room that the cats can go in, kind of in this boiler room area where they're making a lot of phone calls to elderly people to see if they can like invest in various scam stock situations. I don't know how boiler rooms work.
I got in, by the way, I had an awkward conversation the other day with someone who had been part of not a boiler room, but hardcore solar sales door to door.
Oh, really? Hardcore solar sales.
Have you heard about this? Do you know about these crews of generally young men who travel around the country, and they like go out into these neighborhoods and they basically scare, homeowners and people into, not scare them, but they basically trick them into buying this expensive and not particularly great solar stuff?
No, I did not know about this. This sounds
It's kind of boiler room-esque, but I was talking to we were filming at this thing in Colorado, and this workspace we were in, there was a guy who was kind of working there, and he came out and was kind of watching us do the filming, and then when we were done, he was we were chatting it up. He was a young guy, probably in his mid-20s, nice kid, but he was talking about solar. He goes, yeah, I work for this solar company. I don't know what he does for them, something. And he goes, yeah, I got into this because I used to be on a crew that was selling solar door to door. And this was one of those moments where I was like, don't bring this up. Like, first of all, everybody knows, if you know about this stuff, you know that this is basically a scam and like not a good thing to be a part of. So I should have just nodded along and said, oh, interesting. But then I said, I just read this New York Times article about how crazy those solar crews are. And he goes, yeah, I really shouldn't have done that. Now I'm trying to make up for how bad he goes, yeah, we were lying to people. It was really a bad thing. And now I'm trying to do my penance by working in the solar industry, but working for a good company.
Oh, okay.
So, but it got realer than I expected it to. And I was like, what did I think he was going to say when I was like, yeah, I just read up on what you were doing and it's a scam and it's bad for people.
Well, I think you made the right move. You were making conversation, and it would have been interesting if he was like really defensive about it. That would have been an interesting story too. But it sounds like he knew, and was ready to.
I kind of accidentally called him out on it. I mean, he was a really nice guy. We had a nice chat, but I was like, why do I have to Ethan Hawke everything? In that, and I've told the story a million times. The one time when I bumped into Ethan Hawke at KUOW Radio, I felt compelled to tell him about the only reference point I had with him, which was people making fun of him on stage at a New York comedy night. And it's like, why is it so powerful for me to need to connect with someone over something, even if I know it's going to end badly?
I think you are doing Ethan Hawke another disservice decades later by calling that Ethan Hawking, when really what you're doing is Luke Burbanking. It makes it sound like Ethan Hawke is going around bringing up negative connotations with everybody he runs into, but really it's you who's
He's
doing
really
that.
suffering. He's being harmed twice in this story. First in the actual event,
yes,
and then secondarily by now being the namesake for doing this dumb thing.
What
Yes,
about
it's
you?
called
Do you
Luke
want to talk?
Burbanking it.
Do you want to talk about your big weekend plans, or are they too private?
They're very private. It involves me and a wheelbarrow, Andrew,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all I can say about that. No, I mentioned at the top of the show, I have this huge pile of pea gravel that was dropped off that I now have to wheelbarrow down to where I'm putting in these raised garden beds, and so it's like, first of all, I'm really glad I double checked with the people, because what I figured out was the square footage of this area, which is itself a giant raised bed, and then I'm going to put gravel down, and then I'm going to put smaller raised beds that are going to have soil in them. I'm going to grow some veggies. I measured it. It was like 288 square feet, roughly. And then I went on the internet and I said, how many yards is that? Like, because when you buy something like gravel, you buy it by the yard. And the internet told me that it was like 30 square yards or something. So I was going to go to this place and buy 30 yards of gravel. And thankfully, the woman there, I said, it's about 288 square feet. She goes, yeah, that's 3 yards of gravel.
Oh.
I was gonna have 10 times the amount of gravel I needed delivered here. So I'm glad I double checked. But anyway, I have this enormous pile of gravel that I have to wheelbarrow down to this other location this weekend. So those are my big weekend plans.
Well, that
and
sounds
hoping
fun.
the Mariners get their S together.
Remember that
Yesterday was
time
tough.
Ben Gibbard asked us if we wanted to get a bunch of pea gravel together? Remember that?
Yes, that was one of the weirdest text conversations I've ever been a part of.
We was hoping for some razzle-dazzle.
Razzle-dazzle.
That's right, man, razzle-dazzle.
On your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready. Go.
Everybody razzle dazzle.
All right, let's thank some dazzling donors. These wonderful, generous folks are voluntarily donating a dazzling amount of dough. And that's how this thing is possible. That's how this can be our job. And TBTL employee numero uno, John Sklaroff's job, is thanks to folks like Thea Anderson out there in the Wolves, Cedro Woolley, Washington.
All right. Thank you,
One
Thea.
One of my favorite little towns. Thea says, happy to be in a position to be a dazzling donor once again. Thanks for being a bit of brain candy sprinkled throughout my days. In order to make this tax deductible, I'm obligated to market myself. A decade ago, I went through a paralyzing disease called Guillain-Barré. This left me quite literally with permanent RBF, resting bitch face. Well, Thea wrote it. I'm reading it. In order to regain some semblance of myself, I, a nurse practitioner by this point, became trained in medical aesthetics and slowly learned how to treat my deficits. These skills have since led me to open a part-time clinic. Should any 10s be interested in learning more, there is a standing 10% off. Contact info is at mondayaesthetics.com, located in Skagit County.
Nice.
Mondayaesthetics.com. So
Nice.
if that's something that you think could be useful in your life, go ahead and hit Thea up. I'm at the website, too. It's a very nice-looking website.
And you use the promo code TBTL.
I love that.
I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't know if it's true either. I don't think it is, but...
Just use
if
it, though. Like, it can't hurt you. Just type in TBTL in various fields.
Exactly. That's what I do. Do you ever Google, is there a discount code for this? And has that ever worked? I have never had that successfully give me a discount code.
It's rare, but I have done it. It's been a while, but I feel like I've landed on some things. But the thing is, I swear I found some that have worked, but I have found them on websites that seem like they are going to give my computer a disease that it is going to carry the rest of its life that is treatable but not curable.
Yes, exactly. Your computer will eventually be in a commercial where it's kickboxing.
Exactly.
And living life Moss despite its situation.
And there's always going to be, in the commercial, there's always going to be a little indication that it's not gone away. It's still there a little bit. It's
but
not
you
like,
can still kayak.
But you can still kayak.
You can
if
still
want
enjoy
to.
life.
Exactly.
Well, Thea, thank you so much for supporting TBTL. And check out Monday Aesthetics if you are looking to get some help in that department. So, Thea, thank you very much. Maestro?
On your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
That's our friend Danielle Walsh. I assume long-lost sibling of yours, Andrew?
Yes, absolutely. Cousins once removed, I believe, but then not removed anymore.
No, reunited, and it feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle Walsh is in Seattle, Washington. Danielle says, I've been struggling with how to use my dazzling time, so I'll make a shameless plug. Congratulations to Iris's choir. I'm guessing Iris is Danielle's kid.
Yes.
Congratulations to Iris's choir on being selected to sing the national anthem at the April 25th Mariners versus Marlins game. Okay, well, that happened.
Oh, I'm sorry that we missed that. Oh, wow,
I'm assuming
that's
it
so
went
cool.
well.
Yeah.
If you're planning on being there, come early and cheer on Seattle's Bryant Elementary Choir. I used to live around the corner from Bryant Elementary.
Oh, man. Oh, geez.
I'll be in my No Mountain Too Tall or maybe Wilco shirt, and I would love to say hello. Well, Danielle, we got the word out a little late on
this,
but
geez,
I'm sure I'm sure a
sorry.
fun time was had by all. I'd also like to give a shout out to all of our public school educators, administrators, and school allies. We're about to go to battle for our public schools, and I want to say that I see you and I support you. If our TENS community would like to show support, they start by calling their congresspersons and senators and demand that we protect public education and keep diversity, equality, and inclusion programs in our school. Thank you, business boys, for all you do. We wouldn't have this amazing community without you. Well, Danielle, we would not have this amazing community without you. So thank you so much for supporting the show, and shout out to Iris and the choir. I'm sure things went incredibly well, and everybody was dazzled. So thank you, Danielle.
Very cool.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
All right, our top story today is that we have a fun project that we're going to be doing this summer, and here to tell us about it is our dear friend and colleague, TBTL employee numero uno, John Sklaroff. John, welcome to the program.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
So this is, I still haven't really locked in on a name for it, but this involves a TBTL billboard that is going to go up somewhere in America. And the listeners can participate in trying to figure out where this sign is actually located. Can you give us some more details, John?
Yeah, should I just fire away with clue number one? Because it is.
Why don't we set up how the contest is going to work?
Oh,
and what kind of what the timeline is, things like that.
And let me start by saying, let's call it the Great TBTL Billboard Hunt. How do we feel about that?
Great TBTL Billboard.
Yeah, I wrote it down
Hunt.
on this little Post-it note, which I can mail to you guys if you would like. The Great TBTL Billboard Hunt.
Duplicate it and send it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Let me do this again then. The TBTL, the Great. Is it the Great TBTL?
That's
Billboard
how
Hunt?
I feel. It feels Muppet-esque that way. The Great.
This is the Great TBTL Billboard Hunt.
And it's got a little
All right,
fun
John.
to it.
Yeah.
Lay it on us. How's this going to work?
So how it's going to work is starting this week, and then in total of 5 weeks, I'll be coming on the show on Fridays, check in with you guys, and give the next clue.
Okay.
Each week, the clues are going to get a little more specific, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be easy, right? Like, we want people to have fun with this and, like, use their noodles. It's the TENS community are great about that kind of stuff. Whenever you have a guess, email me, John, Jon, at tbtl.net. I'll start getting the responses, and then we'll probably each week, I think we're going to like review responses on air, see how close people are getting, maybe have some fun with that, then drop the next clue, and then at the end of it, we're going to reveal the winner. And are we announcing here what the prize is?
I think we can. I think we can. It's a replica of the billboard, right?
Correct. So it's like a little desktop size, little mini replicate of the billboard that we will be putting up in the world. You can have at home for your collection.
If you are the person who guesses accurately guesses the location of the TBTL billboard.
Now, if you're the first
person, I was going to say, that's really important. Yeah, and of course,
because we also found out that miniature billboards are really expensive.
more
not cheap.
expensive than
Not cheap.
than you think. So, and we'll be accepting these via email, so that way we can be very fair about who's the first person.
Yeah,
to
time
get the-
stamped.
Yeah, exactly.
So as soon as you have an idea, email me what you think it might be.
Yes. Can people guess more than once?
Oh yeah.
That's. We're saying yeah.
Oh
yeah.
hell
okay.
yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, you're the
Okay.
one getting the emails.
Yeah. That's why. I mean, you guys are answering.
That's
for
why
me.
John
That's
was a little
why.
more hesitant.
Yeah.
If I were collecting the emails, hell no.
Now the backstory on this, of course, if you missed the episode where we sort of got this idea, was that Andrew became obsessed with a particular billboard for a pizza joint in Seattle, Spiro's.
Spiro's Pizza, in a relationship, always.
Always. And we started thinking it'd be kind of funny to do a TBTL billboard, and then we priced it out, and turns out people are buying a lot of pizza from Spiro's because those billboards are not cheap. So we found a different place in America that is not as expensive. Still not cheap, by the way, but not as expensive. And so we are going to put a billboard up there. There will be a billboard that exists somewhere in America for TBTL this summer, and yeah, we want to see if people can guess where it's going to be.
Yeah, and I think we just did rule out, Luke, it's not the Spiro's billboard. That we can now definitively say it's not
so
that
really
one.
today is kind of two clues.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
it's not on what is that, North Gateway, or where's the it's not on
or
North
maybe
Gateway in
it's
Seattle.
technically 105th at that point.
It's not on 105th.
Yeah.
So we've ruled that out. Let's see. So should we bring out? Let me get.
Can I, before you start the drum roll, let me just say one more little caveat here. The guesses that we're looking for like kind of a specific location that is more narrowly defined than a state. So in other words, don't just say, "Hey, I think it's somewhere in Washington State or Utah or whatever." I didn't say those for any particular reason. That is not a clue.
It's not a clue.
You know what, let me just say let me just say the rest of the states, just to get them all out there alphabetically. Alaska, Alabama. But I think I did those non-alphabetically. Okay, but I just wanted to say, so we're not looking for the name of a state. We're looking for, city, town, township, municipality, whatever. Like, but we're looking for the specific
place with a zip code. It has to have a zip code.
There you go.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. This is the first clue for the Great TBTL Billboard Hunt. John, what's clue number one?
It is in the United States.
It's in the. Okay. It's in the United States of America. Okay, that narrows it down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
great.
right.
All right, let's see. Let's let those guesses roll in.
Yeah, start your engines, folks.
So hold on one second. Is it in Dublin?
Yeah. There are cities in the U.S. called Dublin.
Yeah,
I don't want to say
There's
no.
Dublin, California, where I was menaced. I was menaced by coyotes in Dublin, California.
When I lived in upstate in central New York, there's of course Utica is a Greek city. There's Rome. There's Mexico. There's Russia. So there's all. I mean, if you say a place, Andrew, it's probably also.
All right, bad
in the
joke.
US.
Bad joke on my part.
Sorry.
All right.
So it's somewhere in the United States of America. What do you guys think the chances are? I'm nervous talking about this because we don't want to give away. The whole idea is we want to sort of drag this out a bit. I don't want to, in talking about it, accidentally give away information. But I also wonder what the chances are of somebody driving by the billboard this summer by happenstance. And by that I mean a 10. I wonder. But again, to answer that question kind of ends up giving more information about it because, like that probably me asking that rules out it being Times Square, right?
Well, I know we were, Luke, you were very kindly texted me your well wishes to me about being a sad Knicks fan.
Yeah, sorry, that was a
and
tough game.
so I know the reason I bring that up is we did this instead of the Spiro's location to save money, but I actually went ahead and made an executive decision. I'm putting the billboard up across from Madison Square Garden to encourage the Knicks to play better, and I think that'll be cheaper than the Spiro's one, right? So
probably.
What if that's the location?
I wonder if we could afford on our budget to have a 1-second ad in Times Square. You know what I mean? Like a 1 second. Because there's like 5 seconders and 10 seconders.
Yeah.
It's so expensive there. The real estate is so I guess we're ruling out Times Square.
Hey, it's not Times Square. So
it's not in Times Square.
Manhattan.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, and it's not in Ireland. Okay, those are the.
No, it's not in Ireland.
It's not where the Spiro's sign is. We're giving it all away.
It may not be in Utah, thanks to Andrew.
Yeah, God, Andrew.
I have or Washington or Alabama, Alaska. had not a basketball question for you guys, but a basketball location question. In fact, this is sort of about geography, I guess, so maybe it's still in our wheelhouse. But Luke, do you remember the other day you and I were talking about the store Staples? And how it's like every Staples we go into, it seems like, how does this place still exist? They have these big footprint buildings that then you go in and they're sort of cavernous, and then
they don't have a bunch of life-size things of Shaq holding a Canon printer.
Yeah, exactly.
For some reason.
You can buy some $50 envelopes or like nerds that are in some sort of fun-shaped container at the checkout, basically. And later on, I was thinking about our conversation, as I often do, because you told me you need me to be a little bit more reflective about our conversation.
It's part of your personal improvement plan.
I've taken that to heart. I remember my Thrive review quite well. But I was like, oh, wait a second.
PTSD.
How were we having that whole conversation and not even mentioning the Staples Center? Because that's where you guys are basketball boys, and that's where basketball happens. But I realized later, Staples Center doesn't exist anymore either, does it? It's something else
Crypto Arena now.
Oh, God.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Could it be worse? Unless it was like Vape Town. Like, could it? What would be worse, Vape Town or crypto?
Well, it could be the worst kind of crypto. In Miami, it was. I think it was FTX, the Sam Bankman-Fried one, and they literally had to pull the name off the building.
Pictures of the next day after the news broke, there was people on the roof. That, by the way, peace and love to our listeners in Miami. I lived in Miami for a little while, but like that's deeply Miami to me. That of course they would have the worst crypto exchange as their, as the sponsor of. I mean, the same again. If you're in Miami, I hope you accept this with peace and love. But I mean, this is the same place where they had to explain to their fans that you need to get to the game when the game has started, because the Miami Heat games, even in the playoffs, there was no one there until the beginning of the second quarter. So they recorded a hype video to try to encourage people to attend the game on time.
That's interesting. Does that have to do with just like Miami culture of people just having a party mentality sort of and like kind of showing up casually late? Because like the Heat, this is another basketball question for you guys from somebody who like just, kind of.
You should be banned from talking about basketball.
I literally should be. The listeners want me to be. But I always got the impression that ever since like sort of like, I don't know, I know it's been years and years and years and years, but when LeBron got there and they kind of built around him and they were, and I believe they won the championship, right? Anyway, but I sort of thought that even after that, it was a blow to them, but they were never like, they never became like the Cleveland Browns or something, right? Like the Heat has never been like a terrible basketball team since that time. Or am I wrong about that?
No, you're right about that. They've been mostly competitive. Sorry, Luke.
I know. I just think it does have to do with just the kind of culture of Miami, and everybody's kind of on island time, and the Heat. This is funny because how long do you think the Heat have been around, John? Probably 30 years, but they feel like a new team to me.
They came in the league, I think, around when the Wolves and the Magic came in, so like late 80s, early 90s.
I still think of them as a new team.
I could no idea.
I could be wrong about that.
They were an original. I had no idea.
They were.
I think like 88 or something like that is probably in that time frame. I could be wrong. But
they like Alonzo Mourning, right? That was kind of their early days was with Alonzo Mourning. But I just remember. I think they were a relatively new team to the league, so there maybe wasn't a long-standing culture in Miami of NBA, I don't know, norms. And people I think are just in Miami just kind of chill, and they have lots of, fun things to do. So they're not going to go try to get inside the crypto arena.
FTX.
The FTX arena.
But Andrew, Andrew, to your point of like them never really being terrible, that's true. They've always been like pretty competitive or in the mix or like really competitive, and one of the reasons is the thing Luke just said. It's such a fun environment. Like free agents and players love going to play in Miami, and so that's one of the reasons they get a lot of big name players over the years.
Also, if I'm an NBA agent, I'm praying that my guy doesn't go to Miami, because I feel I'm praying he goes to Minnesota where it's cold and he mostly has to stay indoors.
If you're a parent of a basketball phenom, you don't want them going to
I'm just
Miami.
like, I know good comes from living in Miami with all that money.
I bet the safest one's Utah, right? No, with all respect to our friends.
Famously a place where the TBTL billboard is unlikely to be. Speaking of crypto, I saw this. I was driving by like a gas station the other day in the town that's down the hill from me, and they just had a sign like they have a crypto ATM at this gas station, but it was like a very sketchy gas station. Because you know how like part of like the thing with crypto is they somehow got involved in like ATMs. You can deposit to your crypto account through ATMs, but they're always the sketchiest ATM. Have you seen this? Like,
know this.
No, the whole point of a crypto is there is no physical like money, right? What
I know is that there are I don't know how this works. Maybe you withdraw your crypto, but it's converted to dollars or something, or you can put dollars into this and it becomes crypto. But like, this is the last place on earth where I would do any of my cryptocurrency work, is this like Chevron on Ocean Beach Highway in Longview, Washington.
It sounds so sketchy. And also, what does your debit card look like? Like, what are you putting in that thing?
I know, right? Yeah, like
it's a USB, of course.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's
or it
your
should be
lucky
like
day.
some sort of glowing like sphere or something that you hold up to it. Hey, can I? This is. We don't like to talk too much about sports on the show, and this isn't about sports, but this is even better for an audio audience. It's about sports logos, because I was having some thoughts yesterday, and I want your guys' take on this.
Yes.
This is a passion of mine, by the way.
Is it?
Like,
okay, that's good
sports
to know.
logos. I love this
I
stuff,
know,
yeah.
I know so little about basketball, as I just demonstrated. I think I know even less about hockey. The only thing I know is the hockey playoffs are going on right now. Everybody always hates Florida. I was at a bar last night watching the Mariners game, but the hockey game was on as well. Everybody seemed to be rooting for a
The
Carolina
Panthers?
team.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even know Carolina had a team. And I said, do you guys like Carolina or do you just hate Florida? Because I had gotten the impression a lot of people hate the Florida Panthers. And literally, I was asking the bartender, but literally, person to my left, person to my right, and bartender all said vociferously all at once, we hate the Panthers. So apparently everybody hates Florida.
Wow.
But let me just, the point that I'm
getting
getting to is the bartender said, well, my favorite team is the New Jersey Devils. And I don't think I fully realized I had such a strong reaction to this logo. When he said the New Jersey Devils, I pictured the logo in my head and I shuddered. I dislike the New Jersey Devils logo. I think it's lascivious.
I don't know what that word means.
I think it's overtly and disturbingly sexual.
Well, it's an N and a J for New Jersey, and has like a little devil tail thing.
It's like a devil that's sort of
and horns.
But I see it also as sort of a devil that's sort of like leaning back with one leg sort of bent up, right, and the other one sort of dangling. It's lascivious.
I feel like you wouldn't name them the New Jersey Devils in this day and age either, right?
Well, you know the reason it's called the New Jersey Devils, right? There is an urban legend of the New Jersey Devil. It's like a what do they call like Bigfoot, like a cryptological.
Cryptozoology.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where there's like a myth of a.
You can also do your cryptozoology deposit at that gas station.
So Andrew, devil into the thing.
Yeah.
Andrew, can I just real quick give you a thing on the Panthers and the Hurricanes? 2 minutes. People don't like the Panthers because one, they just won the title, and their star player they're the defending champs, and their star player is this guy named Matthew Tkachuk, who's like MAGA guy, or certainly MAGA coded. He's just like a real arrogant kind of like, he's not like a nice dude. And then the Panthers is football. The Carolina Hurricanes were famously stolen, and Seattle fans can relate to this kind of behavior, from the Hartford. They were the Hartford Whalers. And talk about logos. The Hartford Whalers have one of the coolest logos of all time, because it's like an H for Hartford, and there's like a whale tail. It's all like, it's a whale tail, but the H is like negative space. It's a really cool logo. And a few years ago, the Carolina Hurricanes started doing throwback nights with the Hartford Whalers.
We were just talking about this before the show.
That's always risky.
If you steal a team from another city, you're not allowed to celebrate any of the part of the team's history that's from that other city.
Yeah. But it's such a cool logo,
we have
right?
to talk about Pucky the Whale. Pucky the Whale was their mascot. This is my kind of mascot. I'm seeing here Pucky the Whale, remembered as the 4th most missed NHL mascot. I can't get to 1 through 3 because it's behind a paywall at
what
the
a list.
Hartford Current. But I'm seeing a bunch of photos of the green whale named Pucky, and I am immediately in love with this guy. This is everything the New Jersey Devil is not.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at this too. Yeah,
Andrew, you should look up their logo too.
I'm looking at it. No, it's
beautiful.
Sweet.
It really is. And the green and blue, it's like a perfect design execution of all the elements of a team design.
Andrew, did you see this kid that had a star turn on the Mariners broadcast the other day when they were playing in Chicago and it was rain delayed?
No.
I love this so much. So, it's whatever they call Comiskey Field now. What I don't know what they call
guaranteed
that
rate park,
guaranteed rate.
How could you not remember that, Luke? Come on, man.
It's Comiskey now. That was a terrible callback to yesterday's show. But anyway, there was a rain delay the other day when the Mariners were playing the White Sox, and it was just torrentially raining, and there was one kid just sitting. I say kid, he was probably 25.
Oh,
this one guy just sitting in his like seat, just getting rained on, and there was no one seated at the stadium except this one guy. And so the announcers kind of became fascinated with him, and it turned out he's a Mariners fan.
Oh.
So because when it stopped raining, he took his raincoat off. He had a Mariners jersey on. So the Mariners, this was actually kind of great. The Mariners TV crew sent Brad Adam down to interview the kid during the game.
That's smart. That is so smart.
It was really great, and he was super likable. He's from like Ohio or something. He's not from Seattle, but he just loves the Mariners because he's a stat geek, and he watched that John Boyce YouTube video about the Mariners and how the Mariners have all these like weird distinctions as a team. And basically, as a data nerd, the John Boyce thing turned him onto the Mariners, and now he's a super diehard Mariners fan. And it was so hilarious because they were like interviewing him, and he knew everything about the Mariners, about the WAR, about like every kind of stat about the Mariners. I was like, this guy could be on the broadcast.
And he's soaking wet because he's just sitting.
He's
in the
drying
rain?
out at this point.
Oh, okay.
But he was like, but he had at one point just been getting rained on, and then they interviewed him for like an entire inning. And he was great. I was like, they need to put this kid on the broadcast.
I like you keep calling him a kid. He's about to go get his colonoscopy next week.
I know.
So did you guys see this? So this took place, and I think I just saw this maybe from it bopping around the internet. I can't remember where I first saw this, but this is from, I think, a couple of weeks ago, maybe just last week, actually. This was a game between the Tigers and the Red Sox, and this is in Detroit, right? And the camera catches a guy who's just way, 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 way up high, just the only person, just a sea of empty seats around him, and he's smoking a doobie. John, have you seen this? And the announcer sort of tell on him. Let's take a quick listen. This is about 40 seconds long, because I remember just seeing a bunch of comments being like, the announcers did not have to like narc this guy out because they first catch him smoking this doobie, then Bregman gets a home run, and the camera catches. Yeah, I know. And then the camera catches him again.
Fourth inning in Detroit. Check out this guy's seat and paraphernalia. That feels illegal. Alex Bregman clobbers the first pitch of the fourth inning to left field and gone. Bregman goes deep again, and the Red Sox have the lead.
Classic Lance Bregman.
Here's this guy again. The shot of this guy, he's leaning back, and he's doing this thing where he's kind of like looking at the joint, sort of. Like, I can't tell if he knows that the nation's attention is on him.
I mean, stay hot, right? Alex Bregman now reached in 24 of 26. Over those 26, that's 9 homers and 21 driven in.
You know what I'm just realizing? He said stay hot. I thought he was saying stay high to that guy. But he's talking about, they're showing him again, but they're talking about Bregman. So anyway.
Are those what team are those the announcers for, Andrew?
So let me see.
It's gotta be Boston if they're saying stay hot to Bregman.
Oh, yeah, of course. Good call. Right. Yeah.
It's gotta be Boston, which is, of course, the Boston announcers would be uncool.
I know, like let him live. What are you doing narking on him like that looks illegal?
Yeah,
like,
right.
How unfun can you be?
Narc.
Exactly.
I'm going to the Twins game tonight. Should I pack a few dubes?
Yes, you should.
Absolutely. 100%.
Do what this guy did, though. He's way up. There's nobody he's bothering up there. There's no, I mean, I'm telling you, there are probably like 400 empty seats around him, which is interesting because it must be a huge place, right? Because Detroit is like the hottest team in baseball right now. I'm happy for him.
Well, the Twins are pretty hot too, right? Didn't you guys win like 13 in a row or something?
I think they're pretty good, yeah. We're going, some friends got tickets, and they're like, oh, come with us.
That's great.
Did you hear about the baseball announcer scandal that's roiling Seattle this week, Andrew?
Oh, yes, that dumb guy on KJR making fun of one of the color commentators.
Ryan Roland Smith's Australian accent.
Exactly. It sounds so dumb. This whole thing, I don't understand why the Seattle Times cares this much, though. Like, I was getting news alerts on my phone that this shock jock radio host who's new in town went after Ryan Roland Smith's accent, and everybody's outraged. Like, I care about baseball, and I didn't even really care about this story that much. It sort of seems like the guy who made the comments just wins again because he gets headlines when he apologizes yesterday. I'm like, just why are we giving this guy so much space?
Yeah, the guy, as you said, Andrew, this guy's a relatively new local sports talk guy. And he was like reading an email where the emailer was complaining about one of our announcers is from Australia. I have to admit, it is a little bit, it does take some adjusting to listen to an Australian accent talk about baseball. It's just not normally kind of what you think of when you think of a baseball announcer type person. I've gotten used to it. I'm fine with it. But this local sports announcer was, or sports talk was like saying, basically he was being critical of how Ryan Roland Smith says fastball or something. Like this
texter wrote in and said he's like talking with a mouthful of marbles, and then this other KJR guy, the host, just sort of apparently really leans into it and starts like going on for quite some time about how he just thinks it's ridiculous that this guy has his job.
But the Seattle Times article was like, local sports talk host under fire for, and I was like, I don't really know he was really that under fire. I mean, he said something, and probably some people were kind of sticking up for Ryan Roland Smith. But then he had to do this apology. But his apology was one of those very annoying apologies where his thing was, he goes, "That's just not me." He goes,
yes,
that's not me. It's like, well, it was you. You said it. Like, how is that the apology for saying, "I'm sorry"? He did say, "I'm sorry I said this stuff. That's just not me." It's like, well, it very much was you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Why am I blanking on his name? But of course, the famous Red Sox announcer who had the Castellanos call when he's apologizing.
The Reds.
I'm sorry, the Reds. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did I say, by the way? I said Red
but
Sox. I meant the Reds. Yeah,
we can rag on the Red Sox.
No, but of course it was the Reds. But Brennan, what's
Tom Brenneman.
There's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos. It will be a home run, and so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game.
I guess I don't have the entire thing. Where he basically got caught on a hot mic saying something homophobic.
Yeah, and then he's like, "That's not me. Anybody who knows me knows that's no." If you didn't think you were talking to a microphone and you're saying a bunch of hateful stuff, and then you realize the mic was on, like, no, that's literally you. That is who you are. It's like not when you turn on the microphone and you think that what you're saying is reaching a whole bunch of people, but who you truly are is what you say in those private moments. You jerk.
Exactly. Currently, he is the announcer for CW Sports college football games.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the Secretary of Communication for the White House or something.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Okay, we got to turn the nose up on this negativity train. I am very excited about the great TBTL Billboard Hunt, my friends.
Yes, exactly. Are we going to get pulled down in parts of Romania, Andrew, for that amount of those songs?
That's interesting. For a change, I wasn't even thinking about that. But no, I believe that you chopped them up. I feel like that is now. In fact, I feel like we could publish that and make money off of it. I feel so strongly about that.
We've created a new piece of art.
We've created a new piece of art. Exactly.
It's just sampling. So should I recap real quick the rules? Do. Okay. So if you have a guest, you can guest as many times as you want. Email john@tbtl.net, JON@tbtl.net. You will get one clue a week from now through the next several weeks. The first clue is it's somewhere in the United States, and we also gave you the bonus clues today. It's not in Midtown Manhattan. It's not where the Spiro signs was, and it could be in Utah or it could be in Alabama, but we're not saying those are clues.
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's a lot of clues.
In any of the 50 states.
Yes, that's true. So we'll have fun with that, folks, and send in your guesses, and we'll see how folks do. John, thank you very much.
Yeah, great seeing you guys, and we'll talk later.
All right, bro.
Bye.
Here I go once again with the email. Every week, I hope that it's from a female. Oh, man, it's not from a female.
All right, emails or V-mails as we slide into the weekend?
Yeah, you ever see an email, Luke, and it's a little bit too long to pre-read, but you're just guessing that it's interesting based on some context
Pattern
clues.
recognition.
Pattern recognition. That's what we got going on here. So if you'll allow me the space, I'm going to cold read an email that we got from Lindsay here on the topic of air traffic controllers. We were talking about this because you were traveling, you were flying out of Newark. Newark was having a lot of issues last few weeks, having to do with staffing air traffic controls. And Lindsay says, when I was in my mid-20s, I was an English teacher in the Czech Republic. I worked for a language school that sent teachers into all kinds of businesses around Prague where employees might need to speak English on the job. Some of my clients were like Citibank or Konica Minolta. Ooh. Anyway, imagine my surprise when one day my new schedule arrived and I was slated to go to the Prague airport. As it turns out, my students there were a bunch of new air traffic controller trainees. They were 10 men, 2 women, all in their mid-20s, and I learned a lot about air traffic control. First, there's an upper limit for how old you can be to begin training as an air traffic controller. This is because you're forced to retire after a certain number of years or by a certain age, which is maybe in your 40s, because of the stress of the job and what it puts on you and your body. So you can't begin your career as an air traffic controller over the age of, say, 26-ish. Another thing I learned is that you have to go through rigorous psychological evaluation to be even accepted into the program. You can imagine the kind of people it would take to do a job under pressure like that to be able to handle immense stress. Third, I learned that air traffic... How am I doing, by the way? I got to say, as I'm reading this to you, Luke, I'm a little bit proud. I have not had that many stumbles on this yet, and
You're nailing
this. This is... Just, will you clip this for my
Uh-huh.
reel? Because I'm going to
Yes.
need this pretty soon.
We'll put this on your sizzle reel.
When the great TBTL billboard hunt crashes and burns and I'm looking for new work, I need this on my reel. Third, I learned that air traffic controllers, at least in the Czech Republic, are an extremely gregarious social group who speak an incredibly high level of English. It had never occurred to me, but air traffic controllers spend their entire workday talking to pilots from every possible nation. So they need to communicate at a very high level of English, as that is the universal language of air traffic controllers and pilots. Yeah, so they shared with me that pilots of certain nationalities spoke English better than others did, and that made their job sort of challenging. They also shared with me some frightening details about pilots from certain nations and their enjoyment of the drink while flying. Yikes. You don't want to hear that. Name names. Where am I not flying? What airlines am I not flying on, Lindsay?
I would say Highball Air is one to avoid.
What about Speedball Air? How are we on
Speedball Air will get you there. They will get you there often ahead of schedule.
Can we name the show Speedball Air will get you there? And why does it sound like a Jefferson Airplane song? Anyway, that's great little insight. And what an interesting job, too, Lindsay. Lindsay's in Nashville, by the way.
I heard somebody being interviewed on NPR who is a air traffic controller for Newark. It wasn't actually the person. What they did was they interviewed the person and then they transcribed what they said, and then they had an NPR producer read the answers because that's how afraid of getting fired this person was.
Interesting.
But one of the things this person said was that they would not recommend, and they would not let anyone in their family fly in or out of Newark.
Really?
Yeah, that was according to a person who does air traffic control for Newark. They said that they absolutely would not. They would not recommend. They would not have a family member fly in or out of Newark, and they also would not fly in or out of Newark because they think it's that unsafe right now because of staffing issues.
Do you think it would be interesting as we wrap up a broadcast week here on TBTL to take a swing at some listener-submitted audio? I just feel I have not listened to this yet, but I feel like if we're going to play this at all, we should play it this week. This is from Kara in Austin, and it is a surprise cameo that Kara got for her husband, and it's of George Wendt. I think wishing him. Yes, exactly. So let's see here. This is kind of long, so I don't know if we're going to play the whole thing, but I have not heard this yet. So this was a private cameo bought by Kara for her husband, I think before his bachelor party or something. This is George Wendt, the late great.
Hello, Mark. George Wendt here, and Kara mentions that you and her, are going to get married. Congratulations, kiddo. And apparently some of your best buddies are planning a weekend getaway, i.e. bachelor party. Well, boy, I sort of wish I knew where the bachelor party was, because I'm to give you some advice. I can remember, I'll go back to Cheers, because one time Cliff and Norm had a big night, and a little too big. They couldn't remember what the hell happened. And so Cliff goes, Nami, when that happens, you got to look through your pockets for your receipts. And we look, and it's like, okay, bar of this bar, that bar, this strip club, that strip club, and then one of us pulls out a receipt for a tattoo parlor, and was like, oh no, and we look around and there's nothing, And, well, it's time to go into the bathroom. And, yeah. Apparently, I had Ma Clavin tattooed on my ass, and Cliff had Vera tattooed on his ass. So that didn't work out well. Anyway,
okay, by the way, I think that might be his real wife in the background.
Yeah, I think so.
Who I learned was the voice of his wife on the show Cheers.
Oh, I didn't know we ever heard her voice.
You never. I don't think you ever saw her.
You definitely
But you would
didn't.
hear her voice maybe on the phone or something, and that was
Oh.
his real wife. Played the voice of his Cheers wife. I learned when I was reading some of his obits.
Oh, interesting.
By the way, this has led me on a whole Cameo thing now, because Kara included the link to Cameo, and now I'm on Cameo, and now I'm looking at athletes that you can. If you want to pay $300, you could get a cameo from Brett Favre. Ideally, he'll remain clothed during the video. I don't know. I mean, he has a history of problems with that. But also, one of the people on here, for $40, you can get former basketball referee Tim Donaghy to do a cameo for you. Now, what was Tim Donaghy's claim to fame? He was the NBA official who was cheating. He was trying to throw games because he had a gambling problem. Can you imagine wanting to get a cameo from that guy?
Who is the person who wants to get a cameo from that guy?
I don't know. Like, hey, I know, Andrew, I know you're a big fan of NBA referees who were fired because they were point shaving, point fixing.
Yeah,
and
right.
guess what? Tim Donaghy's available. I can get you a cameo from Tim Donaghy.
Who's the, really, I don't know if disgraced is too strong of a word, but the notorious MLB umpire who finally, quit
Angel Hernandez?
Angel Hernandez. Yeah, I'm going to get you one from Angel Hernandez. How does that sound?
I would love that. I would love nothing more. Actually, you know what? I would get Angel Hernandez, and then I would force him to read an apology. Here's my cameo message. I want you to apologize for letting your ego get in the way of so many calls that should have gone other ways. It is amazing. I mean, we've been down this road before with Cameo, but it is just amazing sort of who's on here and I guess you would say the people. I don't want to sound, insulting, but like you could get the Green Bay Packers super fan will do a cameo for $25. Not a Green Bay Packer, a guy who loves the Packers will do, and who paints his face green. He'll do a cameo for you if you want to get a cameo from a guy who also likes the football team you like.
I just had an idea for a business, Luke, and I don't know how this works, but it's called reverse cameo. That might get a suit. But I was thinking about how you were like, oh, okay, if I get a cameo from Angel Hernandez, I'm going to make him read something that I want to hear him say.
Yes.
What if instead of a reverse cameo is we pay these, let's say, celebrities or quasi-celebrities, whatever, we pay them, but they don't read a message. They have to listen to our message. We get a video of them sitting there listening and taking our message. They don't get to respond. So if you have some choice words for Angel Hernandez, who else do you have choice words for? I don't know. Bezos, although I don't see Bezos doing this. I feel like he's probably set up pretty well these days.
You can always use $50.
Can you imagine? What if Jeff Bezos started doing cameos? It's like, well, you never, penny saved, penny earned,
Exactly. How do you think I got to be a billionaire?
Right,
Smart financial decision.
Right. Anyway,
I like this
cameos,
a lot.
yeah.
Yes. You will listen to me. I will be heard.
And you get a video of them listening, so you know that they're listening. You can see their countenance.
Maybe Dean Blandino, Fox NFL and NCAA analyst, who's on here for $50.
Is he the one who is often turned to kind of talk about
explain like replay calls and
exactly.
stuff? He's kind of there, like he's the officiating announcer. What a world, by the way, that we now live in a world with NFL football where there is always one announcer who's just dedicated to talking about the officiating
and
from the officiating standpoint.
You get a real reverse halo effect with that job as well, because even if you're just like, hey, listen, I'm just an analyst, I don't have any buy-in to this game at all, but you have all of these sports fans who are on the edge of their seat, either hoping this goes one way or another, and it's your job to say, yeah, they got the right call there, the refs did, or yeah, they kind of bungled that call, but so much, and again, especially especially football, because I think of the kind of relatively short season, like every tiny little call counts so much, right? And so even if you're just like an impartial analyst saying, yeah, that's what the call is, that's what the rules are, you become associated with hearing bad news from these guys. I know that, like, when you said Blandino, I'm like, ew, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, he's fine. He's just been in the middle of analyzing things that I don't want analyzed.
Right. Although I also feel like those guys, whether it's Gene Steratore or Dean Blandino, whoever their rules announcer is, they go way too easy on the refs, in my opinion, because they were themselves refs, or they've got to go they're going to go play around a golf with Ed Hockley after this, and so I feel like they always soft pedal it. When somebody gets the call very wrong, they'll sometimes say, I would have gone different with that, but they'll rarely go, that guy is ridiculous and should never be allowed to officiate again, which is what I want to hear them say when an announcer messes it up.
ACAB for referees, just like they're kind of like,
all Hockleys are.
Anyway, all right.
I'm going to spend the rest of my afternoon. I'm gonna go between taking piles of rocks down to the lower part of my yard and scrolling Cameo and figuring out who I'm going to get you from Cameo for your birthday coming up.
I'm picturing you like putting a bunch of rocks in your wheelbarrow, but then not wanting to waste a trip, also just packing your like pockets full of rocks as well. But then also, that's kind of a concerning image to your dad. He's like, please don't fill your pants with rocks and walk out into the river.
Andrew.
Who is it?
For $75, I could get you a Cameo from Dave Sims.
It's okay.
I mean, what if we had him redo hey
Lloyd
do the delivery to the ice cream to the truck for the team?
Somebody was asking me about that the other day, and I was like, I don't know how to explain it, but it had something to do with the fact that Lloyd McClendon used to get the ball players ice cream if they did well. That can't be right. As I hear those words come out of my mouth, that can't be right.
That was like the bit was that he would buy them ice cream as a reward. And so this was, Dave Sims' way of saying that, the Mariners were going to win that game. But it got a little. By the way, I could get you Skip Bayless for $300.
I need a reverse Cameo on that one. He needs to listen to me.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, all right. Well, I have the rest of my weekend plans now figured out. It involves scrolling this website.
Big weekend.
Enjoy your whirly ball.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. That is going to bring us to the end of our broadcast week. We do appreciate you spending all this time with us. We will be back here on Monday with much more Imaginary Radio for you. So we hope to join you, or hope you will join us then, is what I'm trying to say. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care of yourselves, and please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Hey, Lloyd, do some delivery for the truck to the airport.
Power out.